Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video, the first video in quite a while. I've been working on illustrating a book recently, and that's taken quite a lot of my time. Haven't had time for these videos lately, which is why my woodpecker here is already started when I first started recording. I meant to record this whole woodpecker, but I just completely forgot. So you get most of the woodpecker drawing, but not the very beginning. This woodpecker was one of the first drawings that I did with my new alcohol markers. They're ohuhu, I think is how you say that, but please correct me if you know how to properly pronounce that marker brand. This was one of the first drawings I did, maybe the third drawing I did with these markers, and I've been having a lot of fun with the alcohol markers. I recommend them very highly. They're really fun to use and easy to blend and easy to learn how to use your value more effectively because you have so many different shades of gray and black and red and all the colors really. There's just a million shades in the set that I got, at least. This guy is looking so dramatic, even right at the very beginning. I've seen a lot of marker tutorials online because of course I looked up a bunch of YouTube tutorials on these markers before and after I purchased them. But I've seen a lot of videos that practice a lot of very smooth shading with the markers, a lot of smooth transitions, a lot of smooth blends, and it's really beautiful, and these markers are great for those smooth transitions, but when I'm drawing a bird, I really wanted to get more of a textural feel to the overall drawing. So I did something a little different with my markers. And what I did is I started with a very, very light gray color. Not too light, and then I'd say medium gray. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe I'll go back and make a list. But there's so many different colors of markers. It's really not important exactly which one you start with, but make sure it's a good medium tone gray. And I started just creating the texture and the directional lines that I wanted the feathers to be presented in. And I just carefully went over and made these little lines all over with the gray and then the red for the top too. And then I start moving in with darker and darker colors, and I just add darker and darker colors and harder textures, and carefully picking around some of the light gray. You don't want to cover up. I find in order to make a really gorgeous multi-layered quality to a drawing like this, you have to make sure, just like with watercolors really, you have to make sure not to cover up all of your lightest parts as you go through. You want some of those light parts to show through to add depth and value contrast to your drawing. So here I'm getting braver with these darker colors. Looks like I took a break there and came back. I had to make sure I had this wing right, so I broke out my pencil again. I'm usually very careful about penciling in something before I start going in with anything permanent. I'm very timid like that, I suppose. I very rarely just go in with a permanent medium right off the bat, although I have been experimenting with that recently. I'm trying to broaden my horizons a little bit and work past some shortcomings that I feel like I have in my art, in my drawing. But I'm getting that wing in there, and it's all shades of gray. The underside of this wing is white, but it's not going to look white because it's blocked from the light against the bird's body. So it's all just different shades of gray to create the illusion of depth on this two-dimensional surface here. Excuse my tea slurping. Let's see. Going in with my darks here. Because the black, there is black on the wing, so usually you'd get your darker colors the furthest away from the sun, right there where the wing folds into the body, but because that underside is white and the top side is black, contrarily to what you'd think, normally you get the black on the top of the wing more often than in the center. There's still some black there. This is a good example. See that black line that runs along the side of the body where the wing folds in? That's a really good example of some of the really good blending that's available to you with this alcohol marker medium, because that black line will eventually get blended out into a really soft blend. That's where the soft blend is very useful, is shading with these markers. Some more texture coming in. I got this nice dark line here to make this banding where the feathers overlap each other. That's going to be the darkest part of that feather. I'll point out that blend underneath the wing once I get to that. But after you get these dark colors on, in order to get it to blend out softly, you go back to your lighter colors, your medium grays and your lighter grays, and then you just go over it really, really aggressively, I guess, really thickly with that lighter marker. And the alcohol in the lighter marker reactivates the alcohol in the darker marker, and it smooths it out. It blends it out very smoothly and very beautifully. It's a really fun medium, these markers. I do not regret trying them. I don't think anyone would regret at least playing with these markers a little bit. I'll put a link in the description below this video for the markers I was using for the notebook that I'm using too, which is also an Ohuhu alcohol marker notepad notebook. It's the best paper. It's one of the best papers for the markers because the marker is going to bleed through the paper. There's a lovely little plastic piece that you put behind your paper to prevent it from bleeding through onto the other pages, which I have forgotten on occasion. I have a couple of drawings that I accidentally have marker from the previous page bleeding through, unfortunately, but that happens, I guess. You'll see here every once in a while my sheet. I've got one of my sheets. It's my color swatching. The color of the marker as it comes out on the ink isn't always the same color as how it looks on the cap, on the lid, so it's always important to make a test sheet for all your markers to make sure that you get the color that you want where you want it. See, because now I'm adding some more dimension to the bird here on his chest. See, I'm adding in some shading where his body faces, it starts moving away from the light. The light for this woodpecker drawing, I'll put a link to the reference photo too if I can find it. I don't remember if I saved it, so I'll have to look around a little bit. But I'll put a link below to the reference photo and to all my supplies if you're interested. But I'm using this darker gray marker, and this is where I'm covering up actually most of my lighter marker because the bird's body is moving away from the light. The light here is coming from the upper right in this reference photo, so I'm just making all of that nice shadow pop through here with these various tones of gray. Here I'm darkening up that overhang with the feathers again. Slurp, slurp, slurp. I maybe shouldn't drink tea while I'm recording these, but my throat dries out. I'm not used to talking this much on the regular, I guess. And so I need something to drink or else I would just get my throat all dried out. Try not to slurp, maybe. Now this bird is really starting to pop here. We're going in with our much darker colors. He doesn't look like a gray woodpecker anymore, and now he's finally starting to look like the beautiful blackbird that he is. This is really just a lot of patience. This video is sped up quite a bit. I don't remember exactly how much it's sped up. Probably around 5 times, so that's like 70. I think this took an hour or 2 maybe. I'd have to go back and look. It might have taken longer than that. Especially because I didn't record the beginning. I can't tell for sure. He was fun though to work on. I really wanted to explore the gray range. This is the bird that I drew because I wanted to explore the value range of the gray markers I had for the most part, from the really light ones to the really dark ones, and see what sort of dimensionality I could get with that many tones of gray. And there we are blending. I got my lighter gray out here and I'm blending some of those darker colors. You see how it blends into this nice velvety smooth tone here? I love that gorgeous velvety smooth tone you get with these markers. My lighting's not so great right here. It must have been afternoon. I've got a window right next to me, so sometimes I get this not so good light here that I should watch out for probably a little more. Now we're putting in these little details. Now I've got most of the body tone where I want it for the most part. I'm gonna start putting in these little face feather details. Oh, took a picture there. I try and take pictures when I remember to, of little progress shots and things, but I don't often. Sometimes I don't remember. There's my color sheet again. Always checking that color sheet. Oh, it looks like I had a little visitor in there. Had someone helping me out with my drawing. I don't think he's very much of a bird expert though. He's like, "What are you drawing there? I don't think I can eat it." That's my little snake. His name is Amit. He's a good friend. He likes to stay warm, hanging out on me sometimes while I'm drawing. Now I'm filling in some of this eye detail. I particularly like this medium gray I've got in a little ridge along the bottom stripe of gray on his eye. That gives it so much dimension, I think, you know, just a little bit more of a pop. He's got such a pretty sort of amber gold colored eye with this little mahogany spot in it that I really liked. I wanted to make sure his eye looked really good because it was very pretty. He had a very pretty eye, this woodpecker. That light, oh, I do apologize for that light. I'm gonna have to get some more studio lights, I suppose they're called. Get some more consistent lighting going. There you are, buddy. Stay off the markers. He's not always conducive to an efficient drawing session. Sometimes he gets a little in the way, but mostly he just hangs out around my neck, or if I'm wearing a hoodie, he likes to curl up part of his body in my hoodie too, in my hoodie hood. This part was really delicate. You can't forget that these white parts are feathers too, and they have a little bit of texture and a little bit of shading, but you have to use very light gray markers or else it doesn't look like white feathers anymore. It looks like gray feathers, and you don't want that. Start putting in some of these main ledges of white feathers here. I didn't want to put too much gray in there. There's large swaths of these white feathers that were bright enough that you couldn't really see any delineation between the feathers, so they stayed pretty bright white, but those little bits of light gray shadows are very important to make it look a little more dimensional, a little less flat. There's some nice dark colors around that eye. I waited quite a while to put in any darks around that eye. I was a little scared, I guess. Put in too many darks, it wouldn't look alright anymore. It'd look too weird. Now we're blending it out there with some medium colors. I don't know if you can tell from this video, but one of my favorite parts of this little woodpecker is this little patch of yellow feathers he's got at the bottom of his beak, right in front of his eye. I love that little patch of pale yellow feathers. It was one of my favorite parts. I designed a graphic out of this bird eventually, and I coordinated all the colors for the graphic with all of these colors that he shows here in his feathers, so that there was black in the graphic and there was red in the graphic, and there was a little bit of this lovely yellow feather color in the graphic too, because I wanted it to I guess, look cohesive together. So I spent a lot of time looking at all the little colors and all the little differences in his tones. Now here's, oh, I had my white gel marker out there for, oh, there, look, he's all done. He's all done already. Man, that's a short video. I sped that up very well. Real quick here, I want to mention, when you're blending your very lightest gray tones out into a white space like that on his feathers, the best thing to do, I think, is to use the colorless blender marker, which isn't really very good to use when you're blending colors together. You want to use your lighter colored marker to blend into the darker color of marker. But those colorless blenders that they include with the set are really good, I find, for blending your lightest grays out into the white spaces. And that's what I use them for. And there's my little woodpecker all done. I'm going to put up another picture here. That's the graphic that I made for a t-shirt that I wanted to wear. It says Boss Beats because he's a little woodpecker. He has the best. He has the best beats for sure, and he knows it. You see those neat little lines I've got coming up around the back of this woodpecker? It's actually the sound a woodpecker makes on a tree, the sound wave that a woodpecker makes against a tree that I distorted a little bit to put around there. And I'll put a link to that shirt down in the description too, or maybe even a picture of the shirt. I've got one I ordered to make sure that it printed off well. So I'll put all the links down in the description, and thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and goodbye.